Hey there. Ooh, my wife tells me to stay hydrated. Anyway, it is Sunday, May 19th, 2024. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are DPF guys based in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus 100% on diesel aftertreatment services for anything with a diesel engine and an emission system. Most of our customers are fleets, mechanics, owner operators, or over the road equipment, but we also service aftertreatment for diesel passenger vehicles, off road equipment, both heavy and light, as well as stationary equipment like generators, pumps, rock crushers, and more. Like to say, if it has a DPF, we can clean it. Disclaimer: you should always talk to your mechanic about any concerns you have with your engine or truck, and any pricing discussed here may or may not apply to you and should only be used as a guideline and is not any form of official quote for anybody for anybody, any services by DPF guys or anybody else. So we're going to go through a few questions that came in last week and maybe kind of ramble a little bit here. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, if you're watching this live, please type them in the comments below. Hold on a second here. I'm going to see if I've got anything that comes in here. All right, cool. So I'm checking that anything that's coming in here. Nothing so far, but we will keep an eye on that. But let's get to our first question here. This is question number 1 from Justin Kizamore from TikTok. He says, hey, can you tell me what a DPF low efficiency is on a Chevy Cruze? So first of all, we should probably talk about what is a Chevy Cruze. The Chevy Cruze is the only diesel-powered passenger car offered by GM in the United States and Canada. I don't think they're still making it, but it was a decent little vehicle. Impressive performance thanks to GM's 2-liter turbo diesel 4-cylinder LUZ engine. The Cruze diesel can travel 717 miles on a single tank of fuel. Now, as a side note, I actually had was it 2006 VW Jetta TDI, and it was really amazing to get 700 miles out of a tank of fuel. What was kind of weird about it is I'm in Georgia now, but originally was from Wisconsin, and I would drive down to Cincinnati, Ohio, which is right across the river from Kentucky, so it's more south, to visit my brother for Thanksgiving. And the diesel in Cincinnati was not winterized because it wasn't cold enough to require winterized diesel because there wasn't gelling. And what I would do is I would fuel up, get a tank of diesel down in Cincinnati, drive to Wisconsin, and it would be 20 below when I got home in Wisconsin. And because my diesel wasn't winterized, it would gel right up. So I learned to refill my tank when I got closer with winterized diesel, or add some additive to make sure it didn't gel. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that little Cruze diesel, very fuel efficient, 151 horsepower, 264, I think, foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60, 8.3 seconds in the Cruze. I mean, a decent little ride. So the Cruze does have a DPF and DOC, which will require cleaning if it ever gets clogged with soot or ash. The other thing is the smaller engines have much smaller DPFs, and those DPFs are much less tolerant to any sort of damage due to being overheated or anything like that. I've often seen the Cruze DPFs melt, but if it's not melted, we can definitely clean it. Now, if you're getting a code for DPF efficiency, and again, this will apply to the Cruze and also anything out there with a PM sensor, particulate matter sensor, a soot sensor. So if you're getting codes for DPF efficiency, it likely means that your PM, particulate matter sensor, is failing and sending incorrect information, or your PM sensor is working fine, but your DPF is cracked and is bypassing soot downstream, which is being detected by the sensor, and which reports DPF low efficiency. And what it's telling you is a very efficient DPF would not let any soot through, or lets a very small amount of soot through. If the DPF is not capturing the soot properly, it would be considered low efficiency. So the easiest test you can do is just go around behind your car and check the tailpipe. see if there's any black soot inside the pipe. If you see any black soot at all, and I mean any, you have a cracked DPF filter, and your PM or soot sensor is detecting the soot and reporting it correctly, and your DPF will need to be replaced. If your tailpipe is totally clean with no black soot at all, may have some white powder on it, but that's fine. But if it doesn't have any black soot at all, the problem is likely a failing sensor. I hope that helps. So first thing I would do is if you have a Chevy Cruze or any vehicle that's reporting DPF efficiencies, it can be on a big truck like a Freightliner, whatever it might be, check the tailpipe, see if you've got soot on it. If you don't, it's probably just a sensor. If you do, you have a cracked DPF and the sensor is telling you that it's smelling soot. So there you have it. Okay. Question number 2. This is from Sam Akuri from TikTok. He says, I'm with the NYSDOT, the New York State Department of Transportation, and we have a terrible time with flanges rotting out. So we are changing units because the flanges rot away under the clamps, and also have a hard time getting them from International. So I had just mentioned earlier that I am from Wisconsin, and anytime you've got a northern location that has snow and ice and needs to put salt on the roads, rust can really wreak havoc on a truck, especially the exhaust system. So we will be opening a second location up north where it snows and there is salt on the roads in the winter. And while we're excited to be expanding, very excited, and more to come on that, we are not looking forward to dealing with all the rust. That being said, the gasket flanges on your after treatment system can usually be repaired if they're not too bad. There's a process where we can cut the flanges off neatly and new flanges can be welded on. This isn't always possible, but if a flange is fixable, it is definitely cheaper than buying a new DPF, DOC, or SCR. However, if you need a replacement part for any reason, we do have replacement DPF and DOC for you for many different trucks. So either way, if you can see if we can fix it or replace it, give us a call or text 404-999-1361. Okay. Question number 3 is from Armin Northeast from YouTube. They ask, how much is just a one box without DPF filter? He's got a Freightliner Cascadia 2016. So, Armin, we can get you a brand new one box for your Freightliner Cascadia 2016, obviously. Excuse me. I've mentioned this in earlier videos, but it is very common, very, very common for the 2014, 2015, and 2016 Freightliners or Western Stars to have one boxes that stop converting NOx, and the only option is replacement. Again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here, but if you have a 14, 15, 16 truck with a Detroit engine, DD15 or 13, and a one box, and the truck seems to run really, really well, if you're bobtail or lightly loaded on a flat road, but the minute you get some weight in the back and you're going up a grade, it starts to throw codes that are related to DEF quality, SCR efficiency, NOx conversion, anything like that, you have a bad one box that needs to get replaced. So just keep that in mind. So we normally recommend getting a new one box that it would be fully loaded, which means that it comes with brand new filters, all the clamps and gaskets, along with a 3-year warranty on everything. That being said, you can definitely just get the one box without the filters, because I'm assuming that you might be having some one box issues, and maybe one of the things you tried was buying new filters and you don't want to throw that money away. But if you get not a fully loaded one box, which would be one that wouldn't have filters in it, the difference in price is only about $1,200 without filters than it is for a fully loaded one box with filters. So I generally recommend just getting the fully loaded one. Then you have something that's warranted inside and out versus just the outside with your filters in there. So give us a call or a text at 404-999-1361 about your Cascadia. And by your, I mean, whether it be this gentleman, who asked the question, or somebody watching right now, call or text 404-999-1361. We can talk about this in more detail. but I'd highly recommend getting the fully loaded one box instead of getting one without filters, because the difference in cost is relatively small and you don't have to pay for labor to install the filters in the new one box. You won't have to buy new clamps and gaskets for the inside, and your 3-year warranty will cover your filters as well as the box. However, if you really do just want to get a one box without any filters in it, we can help you with that. We'd probably try to talk you out of it. But again, whatever you decide to do, we will support you in that one. That is my 2 cents on that one. All right. Let's take a look at question number 4. And it is from the Kindle from YouTube. Another one box question. The Kindle from YouTube, do you have any used one boxes for sale? Another one box question. I like that. I like these one box questions. The answer to that is, well, I'd love to be able to sell used one boxes, because we can usually get them for a fairly low price off of junk direct trucks and then refurbish them and actually make more than we would by selling you a brand new one box. The failure rate for these one boxes is so high that it does not make sense for us, or anybody really, to sell a used one box. And believe me, if we could, there's so many reasons why it would be awesome to get used one boxes, take them apart, get everything clean, repair what needs to get repaired, and put it back together and sling that thing back onto a truck. The problem is with the used Detroit one box is that while you can see if the DPF and DOC are good or not, there is no way at all to test whether the SCR works or not until the one box is fully refurbished and put back on the truck, which is a bummer. You got to bring the truck in, you got to pay someone to take the old one box off, you got to pay us to refurbish the used, you pay us for the new one box, pay someone to put it back on, regen the truck, and all of a sudden it doesn't regen properly because it's not converting NOx. And guess what? You replaced a bad one box with another bad one box. So the other problem with the used one box from Detroit is most people looking for a used one box, again, as I mentioned in an earlier question, have, guess what? A 2014, 15, or 16. And since almost 100% of the one boxes from the 2014, 15, or 16 were bad, all you end up doing is replacing a bad one box with another bad one box. So you're better off getting a new one box that will be about $3,000 more than used, but it will have a 3-year warranty and it will guarantee to work. Now, if you really, really want to buy a used one box somewhere, what I would do is find one and bring it to us for cleaning. We're happy to do that. But if you put the one box on the truck and it doesn't work, you'll end up having to take it back off and replace it with a different and probably new one box. Anyway, if you want to talk to us about this more, please don't hesitate to give us a text or a call, 404-999-1361. Okay, what do we have here? Question number 5 is from Monica Allen, 5266 from YouTube. Okay, so Monica says, can you replace the SCR? Detroit one boxes are notorious for breakdown of the vanadium on the walls of the SCR, resulting in low NOx conversion. Well, first, let's talk about this. Monica Allen, you know what you're talking about. The metals, the catalytic metals inside the SCR are indeed vanadium. It sounds something made up. Sounds like something that Tony Stark would make his suit out of. But vanadium has, so it's not. Here's a thought of this. It's nothing wrong with the Detroit SCR specifically. What it is, how they dial in those engines and the fuel mapping. In other words, how much fuel is injected combined with how much air and everything else. There have been cases where the Detroit engine would have a fuel mapping issue, which would cause excessive temperatures downstream. And while the DOC and DPF don't like being too hot, it normally doesn't really hurt them. But the vanadium in the SCR, which is the magic metal that converts the NOx into nothing more than nitrogen and water, will start to vaporize, start to burn off at about 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And considering that normal regen temps are about 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, there's very little margin of error. So if the engine is overfueling and is pumping a little bit of extra diesel downstream and making everything way hotter than it should be, what's going to fail is your SCR. What will also fail is your DPFs will crack, which is why when somebody brings in a one box to crack DPFs, we always really have them look hard upstream and do some troubleshooting to make sure there's not something going on up there. Okay, let's get back to the question here before I lose my train of thought. So can you replace the SCR? The short answer to that is niet, 9, no. You cannot replace the SCR in a one box. It's the one part of the one box that's built into this thing. Now, there's some companies out there that claim you can cut the old SCR to the one box and replace it with a new SCR core. But even they estimate that it'll take 20 to 30 hours of labor to do it. And there is zero margin for error when you do. Also, if you go through the trouble of doing this, you won't know if it works until you've invested all that time into it and put it back on the truck. And the warranty does not cover any of the work needed to put a new SCR core in the one box. It only covers the core itself. So my personal and professional opinion on this is, even if it were possible to put new SCR cores into the one box, and even if it was technically cheaper than replacing the entire one box itself, with the new one box with a comprehensive warranty, you still will need to have the truck off the road for a good portion of a week, if not more, and you may still end up having to buy a new one box anyway. So, if you take into account you're losing about $1,000 a day of revenue for every day you're down, I would choose being in and out the same day, because if you do a one box replacement, we get everything queued up for you. You schedule it, you come in, and we normally get you in and out in a matter of hours versus days. With a brand new one box, been waiting for days or weeks for somebody to cut my one box into pieces and hopefully stick it back together correctly to save a little bit of money. So if you are thinking of playing Frankenstein with your one box, give us a call or a text. You know the number, 404-999-1361. Call us first and make sure that you're making the best choice. All right, what do we have here? Question number 6. From Daylon Roberts, coming from TikTok. Deleting and adding power would do that for sure. I'm curious what acid or whatever do they use to clean them, meaning what do we use to clean filters? And you say that might be something that gets no response, but was curious. Well, guess what, Mr. Daylon Roberts, you are getting a response. Let's make sure I touch on everything here. So it's a common myth that deleting the emission system from a Class 8 semi will somehow increase horsepower and fuel economy. Now, this may have been true 10 years ago when engines were really not designed to work with an after-treatment system, at least not work well. But modern engines are designed from the ground up to work with their emission systems. So deleting your DPF will often make things worse and not better, and will often shorten the life of your engine or even cause catastrophic failure. Of course, the diehard deleters out there will say that everything I'm saying here is a lie, and I just want to keep emissions on trucks because that's how I make my money. Keep in mind that a guy doing your delete is going to charge you $3,000 to $5,000 cash to do the delete, and if something goes wrong because of the delete, you have no recourse or warranty for him or anything. If you are determined to delete your truck, you need to ensure that the person doing the delete will warranty not just his work, but will repair and remedy any engine failures caused by the delete. If the person doing your delete is a reputable company, they will warranty any work they do, including any systems on the truck affected by the delete, which would include the engine, by the way. But I suspect that you will have a hard time finding anybody who is willing to do that for you. Now back to the second portion of the question, which is, what do we got here? I'm curious what acid or whatever they use to clean them. And I think people ask that because they often want to say, well, these emission systems, you're polluting the atmosphere and the water and the rivers, and you're killing pandas and baby seals with all of the toxic chemicals used to clean these DPFs. And the thing is, we don't use chemicals. We just use compressed air and water and heat. And main reason is that the ash and soot that's in these DPFs is all elemental and doesn't, it's not affected by acids and chemicals and things like that. So not that I have anything against using effective and safe chemicals to clean things when necessary. It's just that the process we use does not use any sort of chemicals to clean them. In fact, I've seen some DPFs that were cleaned with a chemical process, and we find that it kind of gums things up. The best processes for cleaning a DPF really are chemical free. And there's several I can think of, not just ours, that don't use any chemical at all, and they work quite well. Thank you very much. But if you want to learn more about deleting your truck, or specifically, the pluses or minuses of deleting your truck, text or call us 404-999-1361, and we can chat more about it. All right, what do we have here? That was question number 6. Let's take a look at number 7. Oh, I read this one. Word salad expert from TikTok. Word salad expert from TikTok. No, I need to do a little, kind of paint in some colors here for you. I did a video on TikTok. So, of course, jump over to TikTok. You can see this. And a customer brought in their truck. They had a Detroit, I think it was a 2015 or 16, and they had deleted their DPF. They had somebody drill out their DOC, their SCR, their DPF, and a couple things happened. One of them was that he overspun his turbo, blew his turbo up after the delete, and to add insult to injury, after he got his turbo fixed, he ends up getting caught for having a deleted truck, and luckily he was given the opportunity in 60 days to remedy this or face about a $5,000 fine, and he wouldn't be able to drive his truck without fixing the delete. So I did mention the overspinning of the turbo. So word salad expert over here is saying, that is just gibberish. Thinking that deleting a DPF would overspin the turbo is gibberish on this guy's part. It's all how the tune was put in the truck's fault. So what he's saying here is the turbo speed is really dependent on how quickly the exhaust flies downstream. And if you drill out your DPF and DOC and everything else, everything is tuned to work with that stuff in line. So if you knock all of that out and don't change the tune, the software that's actually uploaded to the after treatment control module, the ECM, the engine control module, you're going to spin your turbo too fast and basically blow it up, which this guy did. So it's another delete comment here. I told you that the delete guys are really passionate about their craft. It is very common for a delete to overspin the turbo and cause a turbo to fail. It's also possible for a failed turbo to cause an engine to run away, which is pretty cool to watch from a distance or on video. In fact, after you get done watching this, just Google runaway diesel engine on YouTube, or look up runaway diesel engine on YouTube, and it is quite a sight to see. Pretty cool from a distance, but definitely something I would not want to personally be part of. So word salad expert from TikTok states that the customer's experience of a turbo failure related to his delete was gibberish, but the customer who deleted his truck and destroyed his turbo shortly afterward would disagree. Word salad expert from TikTok also states it's all how the tune was put in the truck, and I don't disagree with him on that. However, how would anybody know whether they have a tune that will actually properly manage their turbo speed or not? So how would you ever know the tune was right? Will the person who's committing a federal crime by deleting your truck tell you whether the tune is right or not? Will a person doing your delete guarantee that the tune is right, and will they pay for any damage caused by the tune if it's not right? If you can get that sort of guarantee, if someone says, "Oh no, the tune's right, and if it's not right, I will replace your turbo, I will rebuild your engine, I guarantee it." If you can get that sort of guarantee from somebody doing deletes behind the shop for cash, you found a good delete guy. And if you're okay with the risk of fines when you get caught, like my customer with the deleted Freightliner got caught, go for it. In a nutshell, we don't recommend deletes because after treatment problems are almost always symptoms of engine problems, and sawing off your DPF won't fix the upstream issues in your engine. Deleting your DPF because of after treatment failure is like putting a piece of electrical tape over your low oil light on the dash instead of putting more oil in the engine. You're just masking the problem, really not fixing it. But hey, if you really want to delete your system, I can't stop you. Just recommend you are aware of all the consequences that can come along when you do delete. So, just buyer beware. And if you want to talk about deleting or not deleting, of course, 404 999 1361. Okay, what do we have for question number 8? Cisco PDR tools from TikTok. Okay. How often should I get them cleaned? This is a common question, and there are basically three answers. One answer is from the DPF cleaning industry, which I am part of, and that says about 160,000 miles. Now, we do have some very big fleets with thousands of trucks, and they use 150,000 miles as their DPF cleaning interval. They found that, while there's going to be a cost of cleaning that DPF, the benefits of cleaning it at 150,000 miles, plus or minus, outweigh the cost. And so thousands upon thousands of trucks, and they do 150,000 miles. So that's, some people say 160,000. The other answers from the manufacturer, which varies from 200,000 to 400,000 miles, depending on the truck. And the third is kind of what I say is a combination of the two. So if you maintain your truck, use a good fuel additive and a good oil, you can go a lot further. I kind of tell people, I recommend you don't really have to worry much about cleaning your DPF until your truck calls for a part regen. But when it does, schedule your visit to DPF guys in Atlanta. Shameless plug. I generally tell people to think about getting their filters cleaned at about 200,000 miles, which means come see us at 200, 250, 300 or so. If somebody has a truck that they bought and they don't know when it was last cleaned, kind of keep an eye. If it calls for a park regen, get it done. If you don't remember the last time you got your DPF cleaned, it's probably time to get your DPF cleaned. But if you take good care of your truck and run a good fuel additive like Clean Air Fleet, it would not be unheard of to go to 500,000 miles or beyond. And I did say the magic word, Clean Air Fleet, which is right here. Look up Clean Air Fleet online, cleanairfleet.com, if you want to learn more about them. If you'd like to learn more about the additive, just text the word additive to 404-999-1361. Again, 404-999-1361. And I can help you out with that. People will often ask me what I think about Pittsburgh Power, and I don't have any personal experience with that, but I've heard that it works pretty well. And so does Clean Air Fleet. And there's some pluses and minuses to both, I would imagine. And if you want to learn more about that, of course, text us at 404-999-1361. Just text additive to 404-999-1361. All right, question number 9. We have Daniel C. from TikTok. And Daniel says, sorry, this is off topic. Do you work on VW DPFs? So I don't mind it at all when something's a little bit off topic, because it gives me a chance to answer a question for you. And the answer to him is yes, we do work on VW DPFs, as well as Range Rover, BMW, Mercedes, and more. Chevy Cruze, like we talked about in the first question. If you or anybody has a passenger vehicle with DPF issues, we can definitely help. But I always tell people that the first call they should make is actually to the dealership. So if you have a VW or Mercedes or BMW or anything like that, call the dealership, give them your VIN, and ask if there is any sort of warranty or recall on your after treatment system. Now, this was happening. The warranty solution was happening more frequently a couple of years ago, but you might get lucky. It's worth the price of a phone call. It's possible that your car may still be covered under some sort of warranty or recall. and the manufacturer will replace the DPF for you at little or no cost, which is what I would do. However, if that doesn't work, give us a call or text at 404-999-1361, and we can take care of you and your VW or your BMW or your Range Rover or whatever you got, your Mercedes, once it's off the car. Now, I do say once it's off the car because, while we are excellent working on DPFs and DOCs and SCRs and all that type of stuff, we're actually not a full-service mechanic shop. We don't take anything off the vehicle. It would be really too difficult because we'd have to be able to work on, every type of Class 8, every type of medium duty, every type of car. And if we told you we could do that, we would be lying. So we want to send you to somebody who's an expert in that. If you have a mechanic, we'll work happily with that mechanic. If you don't have a mechanic, we have connections with people who we know and trust that we would send you to. All right. Last question. Number 10. User with a whole bunch of numbers after it from TikTok. I got a DD16 with too much soot in the EGR cooler. Can you respond, please? Oh, happily. I will respond, and I'll actually do it on YouTube Live. So a DD16, I'm used to 13, DD13s, DD15s. The DD16 is one of the big boys. I'm even used to the DD8, which is one of the little ones. But soot in your EGR cooler can build up over time because the exhaust does flow to the EGR cooler, and there's a lot of little nooks and crannies that will catch it. It can also be caused by low compression in one or more of your cylinders, which can often be fixed by an overhead valve job. You may also have something as simple as a dirty air filter, which can cause the engine to run dirty and possibly, that can soot up your EGR cooler. Or you possibly could have an issue with your turbo VGT. And anything that would cause the diesel to burn, not burn completely, can produce a tremendous amount of soot. Another thing is you just might have a very plugged up DPF, which can cause that soot to back up all the way into the engine and the EGR cooler. I tell you what, you're going to get, when your DPF gets plugged up, that stuff starts to back up everywhere and really cause a lot of havoc. That's why it's good just to maintain your DPF. You don't have to do it a lot, but keep an eye on it. So we can clean your EGR cooler once it's off the truck, if that's all you need, but you also would want to look at cleaning the DPF and potentially looking at some other upstream issues in your engine. Whatever the case, 404-999-1361, text or call, and we can try to help you out. So there you have it. Your questions, my answers. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please leave your questions and comments below, or text your questions directly to us at 404-999-1361. And hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be back here next week to answer more of your questions. And remember to subscribe to the DPF Guys YouTube channel if you already haven't. Like our Facebook page, and of course, find us on TikTok. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.